All right, we are live. We are live. How you doing tonight?
I am doing awesome. I just had my sea moss, so I'm good.
I know I should have got me some before I sat down. Like, man, I should have came and visit you earlier. Wow. I see them loading up. They're coming on. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Let's get started, you guys. My name is Yolanda Smith. I am the Life Coach Navigator. I am committed to helping you navigate challenges with life and financial complexities of life. I am here to help guide you towards the best version of you. This show is all about sharing the inspiring stories of successful individuals and how they navigate through ups and downs of life, their financial with their goals in life. We believe that everyone can learn something from someone else's story. So, are you all ready to embark on the transformative journey? Tonight, you guys, I have my lovely cousin. She is a public speaker, she's an author, she's a certified nutritionist consultant, she's a behavior change specialist. She is the pure energy queen. You guys, please give a warm welcome to Miss Chasity Stembridge. Lindsey,
Hi.
welcome. How is it going tonight?
It is going amazing. I'm just I'm ready to, to get get your audience the information, and I'm too excited because normally I don't take CMOS this late. Normally I don't take it after 4 o'clock, but I was like, man, I think I'm gonna take it right before the interview, and I am like literally on 10.
Yes, I guess that's where the name come from, right? Pure energy, right?
Right.
Look, we need to get some of that energy because, like, look, when we going through life, it's like, woo, we need some. Look, with these little kids I need energy, especially that little one. So before we get started, tell everyone a little bit about you. I know I shared a few things, so tell us a little bit about you.
Well, so I have two kids. I have an not kids anymore, but I have an 18-year-old and a 17-year-old. Now my background is in engineering. So I worked at Cisco for 17 years. I just recently left Cisco in April of 2020, April of
Oh,
2020. So yeah, so prior to me leaving Cisco, I was kind of doing this
wow.
was just something I did on the side because I would speak at different health events and conferences, but it was nothing that I had to do to generate revenue because I always had my engineering job. And it
Mm-hmm.
was probably in maybe around 2018 after my mom passed away. That's when I realized that, we don't have, because I would always put things off because, we always feel like we have time. Like, oh, I'll do this later. And, at some
Mm-hmm.
point I'm going to get more into health and nutrition and teaching. But then when my mom died unexpectedly, no signs, no symptoms, I didn't see it
Mm-hmm.
coming. At that point, the entire trajectory of my life changed because at that point, I realized that we
Mm-hmm.
don't have an infinite amount of time. And I realized that, sometimes we can be sick without feeling sick and without having any symptoms. Because my mom, she was never what you would consider sick. I never recall the only issues that I recall my mom having was she was in a car accident where she hurt her back and she had fibroids. That was it. That was all I knew. But then when she passed away, it was at that point, everything started to shift in my life because I started feeling like anything in my life that's not serving me the way I need it to, it has to go. So within 30 days, I had to bury my mom. I broke up with my boyfriend of 2 years. I left my church of 10 years. So it was like all these things that were, everything started to
Mm-hmm.
change. And it eventually, it just, at that point, that's when I started, well, actually, I went through a deep depression because, you know, nothing really made sense. Because my mom, she was my support system. Every time I spoke somewhere, everything I did, she was always there. And so it was hard going from that to, you know, all of a sudden she's just not here and she's gone. And so it was really hard. It was really hard. I was depressed. And then somebody turned me on to first CBD. I started taking CBD and I started feeling better. So I'm like, okay, it kind of lightened my mood a little bit. But then somebody else in the group, because at the time I was an admin in the Dr. Savy group. And this was, he had like 92,000 people in the group. And so we were educators to the group. We did coaching. We did a Facebook Live video every week. So we were helping people. They weren't officially our clients, but we were giving information, natural health information. And then somebody turned me on to CMOS. And then after that, it was just like, I started taking CMOS. And it was as if I had this new sense of well-being. That's when everything started to shift, because now I can start back working out because I had the energy to work out. Now I didn't mind. It was as if it was just like the blinders, you know, it was like the blinders came off. And then, you know, and after a couple of years, I started selling it. And then I'm actually just getting back into coaching. I had done some coaching from the group, and I had somebody else in my coaching program. I have a coaching program where a 90-day coaching program. So just to kind of prove it out, to make sure it works, I had somebody to go through the program, and they got absolutely amazing results. So I'm like, okay. So I know the methodology and the framework works. And so what I've done over the last maybe year and a half, 2 years, I've been building up my CMOS business, because I knew that once I got the CMOS business going, then at that point, that would give me the time, because I know, you know, when you're building a business, it doesn't happen overnight. And so I wanted to make sure, that I had like a stream of income coming in. And so at first, the CMOS sales weren't really, you know, I wasn't really selling a whole lot. And then I switched up my strategy, and I started targeting retail customers. And so now I have, you know, I have a handful of retail customers like LA Fitness and, you know, Greenwood Farms and those customers. And now I'm at a point to where, since I have that, you know, income, now I can build my coaching business without having to worry about how I'm going to pay my bills and my mortgage. So yeah, that kind of is what led me to, you know, to hear. Yeah, right. I see that they're saying B2B should always be the goal. That completely, because what I realized from the B2B, like I was just telling Londa, I had a customer last week to order 100 jars, a retail customer. They order like 50 jars at a time, 100 jars at a time, or I could send 1 jar to 100 customers. So, you know, that's going to take more money. It's going to take a longer time frame. So, yeah, so B2B is definitely, I agree with your, yeah. I agree.
Oh, wow. That's an amazing story, because, you know, look, you like my big sister, because we kind of grew up with you. I always wanted to hang around you. I wanted to come to college with you, and I was still in school. So, and I know your mom she was a very good person. You know, she always let us come to the house. You know, we love staying at your house all the time. So, you know, my condolences to you all. You know, I think of her all the time, and think of you guys all the time as well. So, you know, that's a good way to kind of think of things to kind of get you back in the right mind after something like that happened. It's like, you know, because some people don't think like, okay, what can I do to help other people's, or even help myself after something tragic? Because we don't think like, you know, death can come and it's like really nothing wrong. We know we all have to leave here, but nothing was really wrong with her. So it's like all of a sudden. So we all need to get our health together, and I need to be in Lawrenceville tomorrow morning.
I know. And you know, and that's the thing. It's like, you know, our bodies are always talking to us. And, you know, a lot of times it's, you know, you hear those, it's our body starts off by whispering to us. So our body starts whispering. We ignore the whispers, and then it starts to scream. And so, because when you think of Like, because really, when you think of disease and sickness, it's really only one disease. It's cellular malfunction. Because if you have a cold, it's because a cell in your body has malfunctioned. If you have cancer, it's because millions, if not billions or trillions of cells have malfunctioned. So when that first cell, when you have that first symptom, that's when you have to do something. You have to pay attention. And a lot of times we normalize symptoms. Because it's like, I've had people to say, oh, I have a headache every day, or I have gas every time I eat. You're not supposed to have gas after every time you eat. You're not supposed to have a headache every day. Pain is your body talking to you. It's telling you, I don't like what you're doing to me. You have to change it up. And so I think that's where it all starts. We have to listen to our body. We can't become normalized or we can't normalize our symptoms. And we have to realize that everybody is different. Everybody is unique, because I hear so often, well, I have high blood pressure because it runs in my family. Well, not really. Or I have diabetes because it runs in my family. Well, your mama didn't put the sugar in your blood. So, and I don't want to, so I don't want to discount the fact that we do have a certain genetic predisposition, right? Yeah. So if your parents had certain ailments, that means that you are genetically predisposed to it, which means you may have like a 20% chance or 30% chance higher than somebody else who may not necessarily have it in their families. But what that also means is you have a 70 to 80% chance of living a different lifestyle. So that won't be your destiny. So we're always in control. If you woke up this morning and you are breathing and God has blessed you with another day, I believe that any disease, any condition can be reversed. I saw a lot working under Dr. Sabi and his wife. So there's nothing anybody can tell me that's irreversible.
Oh, wow. I love that. I love the way you put that. Like, now I'm going to be paying attention. So look, let's just end this. Let me just come to Lawrenceville tonight, because first you say your body whispered to you. I like that when you said that. And then your body starts screaming to you. And I believe we all have heard those whispers. And then we hear those screams and we still feel like we don't. I know I need to go to the gym, but I'm coming to get me some sea moss and get my butt in the gym, because now you're making me think, and we just started. We just started this live.
Well, and the thing is, and here's the thing, and this is what I tell like my clients or my audience. Like, if you don't like the gym, don't go to the gym. Don't look at it as, oh, I have to do this, or I need to do, like, I had like my last client, she didn't like the gym. And I said, well, if you don't like the gym, don't go to the gym. So if you don't, but she loves swimming. She loves to swim. Do you know how much, like how many muscles that you're working when you're swimming? So I told her, so I get that in the intake session, where I find out what my client likes, what they enjoy, because when that's the only way you're going to stick with it, because you're only going to do so much because I said do it, or because I'm doing it and it's working for me. Well, the whole thing about living a healthy lifestyle is crafting a lifestyle that you enjoy so you can stick with it. Like, your goal should not be to lose 5 pounds or to lose 10 pounds or to lose 20 pounds. The goal should be to be healthy, because this journey doesn't end when you lose 10 pounds. So if losing 10 pounds is the goal, then what happens after you've lost those 10 pounds? So it's like, we have to look at our health from a big picture, and it's a journey. It is definitely it's a journey, and it's not easy, because lifetime, we have a lifetime of habits that may not necessarily be conducive to good health. And a lot of times people try to change, because someone had asked, did I change my diet, or did I do other things? So what started for me was the sea moss. Because at that point, because like I said, I was still kind of dealing with depression from, my mom had died, boyfriend, my church, everything that was familiar to me shifted. And so I was dealing with all of those things. But so at first I started taking sea moss, and that started it actually curbed my appetite because sea moss is, it has a lot of fiber in it. And so I didn't eat as much and I didn't crave junk food. I didn't crave as many sweets. And so at first it started with the sea moss, then I started changing my diet. And then when I got to a point to where now, I'm feeling like myself again. Now I can start back working out because, when I was years ago, when I had my daughter, well, actually, this was before. This was when my ex and I, we were living in Marietta. We were going to the gym twice a day. So, working out it was fun to us. We made it fun. We went together. So it's like when you start making changes, it's easier to stick with it when you're surrounding yourself with other people who are doing the same thing. So I always like to say, you want to surround yourself with people who are growing or with people who are going in the same direction that you're growing in. So you want to be around people who are growing and going in the same direction that you're going in. So when you start making those changes, like, when we started going to the gym, it was fun because we went together. We took the classes together. We worked, we did weights, we did everything together. So it made it easier. But yeah, so you just want to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with people who are edifying you and people who have the same goals as you, because you know how we do sometimes.
Yes, definitely. I really like that because it's motivation and it gets you where you need to be. But talk about what are some of the common misconceptions about nutritionists and that you normally hear all the time. What are some of them?
Well, one of the common misconceptions is people feel like in order to lose weight, it's as simple as fewer calories in than you're burning. Well, that only works if you don't have any other issues going on in your body. So, and it also depends on what the goal is, because there's a big difference between weight loss and fat loss. So for me, I'm almost at my goal weight. I don't want to lose any more weight, but I do want to burn body fat, which burning fat is, you have to be strategic. You got to have a plan. It's more than just more calories out than in. So a lot of people think that, but then you have to look at the palette that you're starting from, because if your body is full of toxins, it's going to be hard to lose weight. If your thyroids aren't functioning, or thyroid isn't functioning properly, it's going to be hard to lose weight. If your body is full of inflammation, it's going to be hard to lose weight. So there are so many other factors to where when people get frustrated, they start working out. And one of the main things that I see is people start doing things without a plan. They don't really have a plan. It's just, you know what? I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to, go in the gym and work out. Okay, well, what are you going to do when you get in the gym? Are you going to change your diet? What's that regimen? And so for me, because I have so many things going on, because I'm running 2 businesses, got the kids, got to keep the house looking somewhat decent. Then I go to stores that sell my products so I can promote my product. So it's always something. So my day doesn't start that morning. My day has to start the night before. So I have to know, like at that night before, okay, what am I going to do? So is this a weight day, or is this a cardio day? Is this, okay, so this is what I'm doing in the gym. Okay, what am I going to eat? Because whenever I'm in a situation to where I haven't always figured that out, usually that's at that point, that's when you just grab something out of the refrigerator. You find yourself out. Like if I know that I have a long day, so let's say a lot of times on Fridays or Saturdays, I'm in stores. So if I know I'm going to be in the store all day, if I'm going to be promoting products, so I got to make sure that morning, I got to make sure, I definitely take extra sea moss. I got to make sure, sometimes I'll put extra things in my smoothie. So I may put extra protein in my smoothie. I may try to, it depends on, I have to switch things up depending on what my day is going to look like. And so, but like I say, again, it starts the night before, because that morning, when you don't already know what you're going to eat, when you don't already know, what you're going to do in terms of working out, what activities, it's like you're kind of already behind. So that's the first thing you want to make sure, because when it comes to living a healthy lifestyle, I feel like, the main thing is you want to have a plan, you want to have a schedule, and you want to have accountability. Like, you got to have, to me, that's what I found that works for me, and that's worked for my clients. Like, you got to have those things. You got to know, what you're going to do. You got to know what you're going to eat. You got to do meal prep, because like, if you don't do meal prep, you liable when you're hungry. That's the worst predicament to be in, being hungry and not knowing what you're going to eat. Because that's when you might eat anything. Because everybody in the house ain't on the same page. So junk food is going to trickle its way into the house somehow.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, you got to have a plan. You got to have a menu.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was going to be my next question. So you have already answered. I was going to ask you, like, how important it is to kind of develop a personal plan, like, for individuals that are seeking that goal. So that makes perfect sense, because, girl, I'm in here with these boards, and then it's always I got to figure out what we're going to eat. Like, if somebody help me figure it out. So So what were some of the biggest challenges, you faced along the way? I'm sorry.
Well, no, because I know there's a delay there. Some of the challenges was, when I first started making healthier choices, right? Because we grew up in the country, so our grandparents, they went to the tree to get, they really lived the herbs of the tree or for healing the nation. They lived that where we're from. I'm from Sparta. She's grew up in Siloam, and so we're used to living a natural lifestyle. But what was challenging was trying to get my kids on board, because they're going to school, they're eating a certain way. Then trying to get, who was my ex-husband now, trying to get him on board, because it's hard when you start making those changes. So like, when I started switching up certain things, so let's say, because I'm a Southern girl, I used to cook fried chicken. I'm making sure I'm hooking everybody up. My mom could cook. She taught me how to cook, so I could throw down in the kitchen. But then it's like, okay, all right, I'm gonna try to sneak this in. I'm gonna try to make this spaghetti with different noodles and see if anybody notices. And my ex-husband was like, he'd be like, look, something ain't right with this. And so what I had to do was I had to do it subtly. So I had to figure out how. So what I started doing was, let's say, when I did make spaghettis, I had to do half and half. So I would do half white noodles, half spelt noodles, or half whole grain noodles. So I had to kind of be patient first off. And because what I tell people all the time is, start where you are. You have to, like, you start where you are. Don't try to change everything at once. You got to change one thing at a time. And so, because like, I had a client who said, I eat fried chicken every day. I said, okay, let's start there. Take your fried chicken, let's put it on top of a salad, and then we'll start from there. So you have to meet people. You have to meet people where they are. So I started making subtle changes, and then one thing that I found that we all had in common was everybody in the house liked my smoothies. They liked my protein shakes. So that was a way that I could sneak in a lot of, I would put all kinds of stuff in the protein shakes. I would put like moringa. I'd put the sea moss in there. I'd do like different green and red powders. So that's where I would sneak everything in. But then, because I'd put the fruit in, and I'd put a little bit of agave in it, and it would, as long as it tastes good or sweet to the kids, then they would drink them. And so that was one of the sneaky ways that I was able to get them to take their vitamins without taking their vitamins per se. So and even making vegetable juices. With the vegetable juices, I started because I had to come up with systems. So like, on Sundays, I'll make enough vegetable juices for Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And then Wednesday, I'll make them for the remainder of the week. So those vegetable juices might have 10 servings of fruit and vegetables per juice. So it's other ways because most people aren't going to sit down and eat 10 servings of fruits and vegetables in one sitting. Like you don't, a lot of people don't like vegetables. I mean, who enjoy? Most people don't enjoy eating kale, broccoli. I mean, they'll do it. Sometimes you can dress it up, and by the time they put all the butter and all the stuff on it that makes it taste like it used to taste when they grew up, it doesn't have a lot of nutritional value at that point. So those juices, when you're doing, because what I do for my juices is I do half and half. So like the stuff that's really thick, I'll juice it, like apples. I may juice pineapples. I may juice, sometimes I'll do carrots sometimes, and celery. I'll juice those things. But then once those are juiced, I pour those things into the blender. And when I put them in, because you don't want to put spinach or kale or any greens in the juicer, because it's going to wither away to nothing. And food is too expensive. You see the price of food.
Exactly.
And so you want to make the most of your efforts. So I take the apples, the carrots, whatever I put in the juicer, I pour that into the blender, and then I put my greens, and then I may put a banana in there, and then I blend it up, because I have a Vitamix, so it does, it blends it up really well. And so that's how I'm able to put all, like, at least 10 servings of fruits and vegetables into one juice, because I usually make either 12 ounce or a 32 ounce size jar. And my kids, I tell them, I say, hey, you need to drink one of these a day, and they drink them. So and they like them. And so that's the thing, you have to make health enjoyable. That's the only way you're going to stick with it. You can't eat foods in the name of health just because they're healthy. You're not going to stick with it. You can't do exercises or go to a gym that you hate just because you think that that's where you go to get fit. So the only way you're going to stick with things is you have to figure out what it is that you like to do. Like, do you like to swim? Do you like to ride bikes? What is it that you like to do that you can stick with? And then, and same with diet. What foods do you like that are healthy that you can stick with? Don't eat the stuff that I eat, because you might not like it. And if you don't like it, we know you're not going to stick with it. So you have to, like I said,
right,
a lifestyle. It has to be a lifestyle.
I like that. I like the way you put things, because most people don't sit down and explain this stuff to us. We think, I got to go to the gym to lose weight. I got to eat this to be able to do what I need to do and to be healthy. So I love the tips that you're giving, and you're coaching us at the same time. Y'all pass the collection plate around. Let's talk about some proud moments. Like, can you share a particular proud moment or achievement in your life that still stand with you today?
When I became the gold winner, which gold stands for Georgia Occupational Award of Leadership. When I won that, it was unexpected. Like, it was so what it is it's a so it's the gold award. It's like it's something that they do in the state of Georgia. It's supposed to be, really prestigious, which I didn't know this at the time. And the people who compete for the award, they have to be nominated by a certain organization. So one of my professors was in, I think it was, I can't remember the name of the organization, but he had to nominate somebody from his class, from all of his classes. So he nominated me to compete for it. And the way you compete for it is you choose a topic. And so my topic was the differences between technical school education versus college education. So whatever topic you choose to speak about, you go around, you speak about that topic, and people interview you. They have a panel of judges, and they're asking you questions about, what you just spoke to them about. And so I did that. And I remember going to, they had the the final competition. And so, and it was, you know, where they called everybody in, you know, you did your speech, you did your interviews, and then they announced the winner the next night at a banquet. Well, I didn't think I was going to win, so I didn't invite anybody. And so when, you know, so when they called my name, they were like, the gold winner for 2003, who's going to represent this school for the next year is, because I wasn't married at the time, is Chasity Stembridge. And I'm looking around like, oh, that's me. That's me. And so I was so excited. Like, I was so excited, like, wow, how did I win? And so, but anyway, it was so amazing because there were, it was amazing because so many people, what I realized was how so many people were willing to help me, because there was one guy who, he and his wife, they owned a they did what do you call it, videography. And so they helped people to prepare for speeches, and they did branding, and they did all of these things, and they kind of took me under their wings, and they helped me for free. The CEO of my company, and this was when I was preparing for it, like, you know, the speaking and the topics that I was speaking about, they all helped. The CEO and his wife, they had a few sessions with me where they called, you know, they invited me to their home, and they were like, oh yeah, so, you know, let's talk about this topic. And there were so many people that helped me. They didn't expect anything in return. And they said, the way you repay us is by going to help somebody else. And so, and I just thought that was so amazing. And the support. So the support has just been, it was just amazing. So I guess that was a really, really proud moment when I actually won. And it was proud. They were proud too, because this was the fruits of their labor, because they had helped. And so I won the Georgia Occupational Award of Leadership. And this was I think it was in 2003. And I guess it was, and my mom, she was there, you know, she was right there at the set, because when you win for the school, you actually compete on a national level. So when I competed on a national level, my mom came to all of those competitions. And I think I came in out of the nation, I was number 12. So it was interesting. It was interesting, but it was a major accomplishment, because before then I had never even, you know, I had kind of been afraid to speak, like to you know, that's one of the main things that people are afraid of, speaking in public. So, but you know, everybody made me feel so comfortable, because you know, they recorded me speaking, and they pointed out all the things, you know. So it was a really good experience. So that was a major accomplishment for me. So yeah, that was one of them.
Oh wow. And, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I never heard of that. Yeah, I never heard of the gold award. So that was interesting that you mentioned that. So we definitely got to look that up and get some more people on there too.
Right. And you know what was interesting about it?
Good to look into.
Right. And so, and I guess I didn't realize what a big deal it was, because they said, well, whoever wins the gold award, that's the person who delivers the commencement address for graduation. And so I ended up delivering the commencement address as well for my college graduation. And so it just spiraled into so many other speaking opportunities. And, you know, I had to speak to a lot of different, you know, really prestigious or audiences. So yeah, it was. So anybody is eligible for it. Like anybody in, if you attend a technical college, then you're eligible. It's just a matter from there, a professor, and I think it's the Perkins organization, they have to nominate you, and then you have to start competing against the people at your school, and then you compete with the winner. The school winner competes against everybody who won in the state of Georgia for their school. So it's you compete against every technical school in Georgia.
Oh wow. Let's talk about your book. Tell us about your book.
Okay. So yeah, so my book I'm one chapter away from being done. I've been so bad. I need to knock that out. But so the book It's called Healthy is the New Sexy. And it's a book about being healthy from the inside out. So in the book, I talk about a lot of the stuff that I talk about within my coaching program. So I have this 6-step energy framework, and the framework, it covers all the things that I feel like, all the principles of healthy living. So I go in detail, like the E is expelling toxins, and I talk in detail about, detoxing, and I talk about nutrition. I talk a lot actually, I think I may have 2 chapters on nutrition, because nutrition that's probably that's going to be about 70% of your results, your nutrition. And then I go through the rest of the framework, the exercise, and so it really breaks down those principles, the principles for my coaching program, and it's really to teach you how, not just you don't want to look good just on the outside. You want to be healthy from the inside out, because one of the things that COVID exposed, it exposed a lot when it came to even athletes. Like, a lot of times you can do certain things to make your body have endurance, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're healthy. You want to be healthy from the inside out, because if there's there are always going to be germs and viruses around you at any given moment. So you can't, a mask, because think about it. A mask is not really going to protect. It'll protect you if somebody coughs directly in your face,
Right.
the liquid. But when you think of it, the only way a mask would be effective is if you couldn't breathe through it. So
Right.
if you can still breathe, then that means that you can still, you can still breathe in the toxins and the germs and the viruses and the antigens and the pathogens in the air. So you can't trust that. So you want to make sure that you're doing things to build up your immune system. Like, you want to make sure you're getting enough rest, because, if you're not getting enough rest, your hormones are not going to even, be secreted properly. So, like, for example, you have different hunger hormones like leptin and ghrelin. So ghrelin is what tells your body when you're hungry. Leptin is what tells your body when it's full. And so when those hormones are thrown off and they're not secreted in the correct amounts, then guess what? You don't know that you're full. You don't, you feel like you're hungry all the time. So you're eating constantly, you're overeating. And, and the same thing with certain other chemicals and excitotoxins, like when you think about artificial sweeteners, where people drink Diet Cokes. That's one of the worst things you can do, because when you think of, like, the Splenda or the aspartame, it actually tricks your brain into thinking you're full, and or no, it tricks it's like it it interferes with the production. Like, it even interferes with your sleep patterns, because it interferes with the production of serotonin. And that's one of the things that tells your body to shut down. It also makes you crave carbs. So you feel like you're hungry, even if you're not. So you definitely want to stay away from artificial sweeteners, and sodas in general. Like, there are certain things that it's actually probably one of my top 4 of things to avoid. Because some things, like, I hear people say things like, you can do anything in moderation. Not necessarily. Like, some things you just shouldn't do. And so, like, so a lot of times I try to change the mindset. Like, don't think in terms of moderation, think in terms of balance. Because when you say, I'm going to eat something, or I'm going to do something in moderation, well, what does that mean? What's moderate? Who's going to stop you when it's a moderate amount? Like, nobody can quantify what a moderate amount. It's almost like that's something that people tell themselves to be okay with bad behavior. Like, oh, I'm just going to do this in moderation. Well, what is moderation? What does that even mean? But when you have, like, and one of the things, one of the quotes that I tell my clients is, if you continue to eat bad things in moderation, it's going to keep you moderately sick. So you really have to, like, some things you just don't do, or you think in terms of balance. So, like, let's say if my friends and I go to the Cheesecake Factory, Well, I'm probably not trying to eat, not going to eat cheesecake in moderation. I'm probably going to finish that slice. And so,
yeah.
my mindset is balance. So what activity am I going to balance this out with? So I know that, okay, tomorrow, maybe I'll add another 2 miles to my run. Maybe I'll add an extra 30 minutes to my workout. So I don't do things in moderation because I don't know there's nobody telling you or confirming what moderation is. But when you do things in balance, you know that there's a deficit there. So you know that you have to do something to balance it out, some type of activity. And that's why I say, I let my clients choose the activity. Whatever you want to do, whatever you feel comfortable with, whatever you like, that's what you want to do, because that's the only thing you're going to stick with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love the way you just said that. Like, it makes me think. I'm over here to thinking now I got to go through my refrigerator. But doing your journey is really good for like entrepreneurs, especially moms and dads. Shout out to the dads that run around with their kids too, because you need that energy. You need to be healthy. And it's not about the weight, it's about being healthy, like she said, inside first, because you can't run this, you can't have a clear mind, you can't do really nothing like really pure and have that, right mindset if you're not, fixing your body up and in the inside first to be able to have the energy to do everything you need to do. Because even mess with your mind too, because it's like you said, it give you you having those headaches, and it's like you can't think right. Like there's some big days when I'm doing business, it's like, oh, I'm just so confused. What am I supposed to be doing? And it messes you up. So I think health is an important thing to take care of, to be able to live, basically to live. Yeah. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. And it's like, what and I think I mentioned this earlier, what I realized when my mom passed away is, the time to start is now. You don't have as much time as you think you have. You just don't know. And because it's like, especially this is a great time because all this information is at our fingertips. There is no reason why anybody should be unhealthy that wants to be healthy. That's, someone who wants to lose weight. It's so much information out there. And so and a lot of times it's overwhelming because it's so much information, but just start somewhere. Like even tonight, like just if you can take one thing that I said and incorporate that into your lifestyle, start there. You have to, you just start, just do something. And then like there's I think it's an African proverb that says, when the student is ready, the master will appear. So that means like once you start, once you start on the journey, you're going to attract other people along your journey. That's, that's going to help you and give you the pieces that you need. And for me, I had to do it for my family. I had to do one thing at a time. So I started with certain dishes. And then because we already had a habit of working out, because, my ex was a bodybuilder. So he was definitely into working out, but and I told him, I said, you want to be healthy from the inside. You don't want to just have all these muscles and looking fine on the outside, and then you're rotting away on the inside. So you have to start somewhere. And what I start pretty much all of my clients off, I start everybody off with a detox. I start them off with a detox because it's almost like if you're an artist and when you start painting, like you're going to start on a clean palette. You want to make sure, because if you don't get rid of those old toxins and then you just say, okay, well, I'm just going to start eating healthy. A lot of times it's, you're not really getting the nutrients to where they're supposed to be, because if your cells are filled with toxins, then you're not going to get the benefits from now because food is expensive, especially, if you're buying good quality foods and you're getting organic food. foods. You want to make sure your body is benefiting from those foods. You want to get the most bang for your bucks, because like I said, food is expensive these days. So you want to start with a clean palate. You want to get those toxins out of your system. So now your efforts, you'll notice the results sooner if you when you detox. Because when you think about the organs that control weight loss, you think about your liver, and you think about your pancreas, and you think about those organs, and even with your when you detox, when it comes to energy, you want to make sure your gut, you want to make sure your gut, your microbiome, you got to make sure that's that you have as many, you want to do probiotics. And so you want to make sure you're getting rid of the bad bacteria. And so you want good bacteria in your gut. That's where you're getting a lot of your energy from. And so it's just, you really just have to get started. And once you get started, then you'll start picking up things along the way. But I always start everybody off with a detox. And then after the detox, that's when we start looking at nutrition. Because nutrition, even if you just changed your diet and you didn't even incorporate the workout piece of it, that's still, you're still going to get results, because that's 70% of it. Because the gym is really to reshape your body and to exercise your cardiovascular system. That's what the purpose of the gym is building muscles. You're trying to, you want to look a certain way. And at the same time, you're getting that cardio in which is that's important, because we know the number one cause of death in America is heart disease. By far, that's the number one cause of death in America, heart disease. And so you definitely, when you start making those changes, you're getting rid of those toxins, and now you're getting all these nutrients and from the foods, because you're starting to make good decisions. Because guess what? I'm not telling everybody they got to eat tofu. You may not like that mess, So I'm telling people, okay, what is it that what healthy foods do you like? Like my last client who lost almost 40 pounds. He said, I like beans. I said, okay. All right. So we're going to do, what do you cook your beans in? Pigtails. All right. We ain't doing that no more. We're getting rid of these pigtails. Okay. We're not doing pork, because pork is one of my top 4. It's on my list of my top 4 foods to avoid. No pork. And I said, well, okay, well, let's make it healthy. Let's either season it well because when you're doing the detox, you don't do any meats, no animal products while you're doing the detox. But then when you finish the detox, if you want to, start back, if you want to start back, because everybody's not going to be vegan. They're just not. Like people, if somebody's used to eating meat for the last 42 years, and you come along like, oh, the only way to be healthy is you got to be 100% plant-based. No. Nobody's gonna stick with it. They'll do it. Maybe they'll start it, but it's gonna be really hard to stick with. You just want to make sure you're eating mostly plant-based foods. You want to eat at least 70 to 80% plant-based. And if you still want to eat,
there ain't no pork.
Pigs, right? First of all, like 80% of pigs at the time of slaughter, they have pneumonia. Another thing, pigs don't have sweat glands, so all the toxins that the pig consumes, they become permanently a part of the pork fat. And so it's like you have to, and then, God already deemed it unclean because it didn't have it had the split hoofs, but it didn't have it didn't chew the cud. So it was considered an unclean animal. And so, Islam, the Muslims, they don't eat pork either. But it's a lot of parasites in pork. But they do have pasture raised pork. It's just because of all the other things. I advise my clients to avoid pork. Like you can, if you want to eat, you can still do some meats, mainly fish or salmon, so the clean fish. You could do even turkey. Turkey is not as bad. A lot of people do chicken. But pork, that's like, that's a no-no. So yeah, you don't want to. I know.
What about kids? Like as far as kids, I'm sorry.
You said no. I was just gonna say, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
particular person in the room when I start trying to take people's bacon away. Like when I mentioned something about, I remember one time I posted something online, right? So I posted this meme online, y'all. It said, if you would not pour bacon grease down the sink for fear of clogging it up, why are you giving it to your kids? Y'all, you would have think I had cussed out folks' mamas. Because everybody, it was like,
I like that though. That's good. That's a good thing to think about.
So I'm like, okay, I can't talk like when I talk about people's bacon, or if I talk about vaccines, if I tell people to stay away from vaccines, they come for me. So I'm like, okay, so I'll just those might be two topics that I'll just talk about in my seminars, because people don't like when you start telling them not to do vaccines and and to give up their bacon. And then I had a guy yesterday who went off on me in a Facebook group. He was like, my grandma and my granddaddy, they ate pork and they lived to be 90. And I was like, okay, well, when if you think about, but that's usually a reason that people give. But when you think about when our grandparents were growing up, half of these chemicals and preservatives and additives, they weren't even on the market. So yeah, they ate pork, but 9 times out of 10, they raised their own hogs. Like these were their pigs from start to finish. Or if the food was different, it was a different quality food. Everything was different then. And so you didn't have all these chemicals and all the things that they put, the excitotoxins, because they want the food to taste good. They didn't do these foods. They didn't do it that way until, they added it along the way. So yeah, your grandparents may have smoked. They said, oh, my granddaddy smoked. He lived to be 90. My granddaddy ate bacon every day and he lived to be 90. Yeah. And but let me tell you something too. And I know we've talked a lot about nutrition, but I have to add this in too. The number one determinant of longevity, meaning the one thing that's going to determine how long you live above everything else, is happiness. So it's like they've researched this. They have a whole area of medicine called, I think it's, don't quote me on it, but I think it's pseudo-neuroimmunology. It's the study between the mind and the immune system. And what they found was when you are happy, when you are in a happy marriage, when you are, when you have good, because sometimes you'll be stressed. It'll be good stress, like you're stressed and studying for a test or something like that. They found that when you were happy, you have a whole nother set of immune system cells called NK cells, which are natural killer cells. Well, these cells are more powerful than your B cells that fight the bacteria and the T cells that fight the viruses and the funguses. So these cells that are created by you being happy, those cells are more powerful than the other immune system cells that you have from calorie restriction, from eating right, from doing all these other things. So you have to, you don't want to stay in a bad situation. So the first part of my coaching program is, we don't just detox our bodies. We detox the environment. We detox, everything got to detox. Like you got to detox your environment. You got to detox your mind. You got to detox your body. You can't just do a cleanse and think, okay, now I'm good to go. Because if you're in a toxic environment, if you're in a toxic relationship, because there's a book called Who Turned Off My Brain by Caroline Leaf. And in her book, she says, every time you think a negative thought, it sends toxins through your body. So imagine you killing yourself because you're just thinking negative and being negative. So it's almost like, somebody said one time, they said that when you hold on to anger, and one of the, essentially what you're doing is, like, let's say you're upset with somebody and then you're just holding on to that anger. They said that that's almost like drinking poison, expecting the other person to die. And so you have to make sure that, you want to keep your mind clear. That's why I try to make it a point. Sometimes I wake up late, but that's part of my morning routine, meditating. That's the mental detox. I do it at night. I write down things, everything that's on my mind, I write it down at night. So I don't want to think about this stuff while I'm going to bed and I'm trying to sleep. I turn that TV off. I don't want that stuff in my spirit.
Nope. Exactly. Exactly.
But yeah, and she said that she said studies show yes, that is, and there's actually a book called The Pseudo-Immunology of Cancer, and they talk about the profile of people who beat cancer. So it's like, yeah, when you're angry and you're, resentful and you have all these other mental things going on because of when you think about how the mind and the immune system are connected, you don't have as many of those NK cells, the natural killer cells. That's why, because when you're happy, yeah, you have those cells in abundance. But when you're not, you don't have as many, you don't have as many of those cells. So she's exactly right. You have to have a certain mindset. You have to think positive, and you want to surround yourself. When you start making positive changes, you don't want to be with people who are like, oh, look at her, she thinks she's better than everybody else. Oh, she don't want to eat. You want this bacon. So it's like, you want to make sure that you with similar goals. Y'all can't go to McDonald's every day for lunch anymore, because now you've decided that you're going to live a healthy lifestyle because you want to be around for your kids. You want to start making healthy lifestyle changes. So you want to, surround yourself with other people that are going in the direction that you're growing into.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have truly enjoyed this tonight, but I have one more question, like for kids, like what age do you start them with detoxing and things like that?
So with kids, normally I start off with I'm trying to think of what age. I started detoxing my kids when they were like, when their poop started stinking really bad. Like, it wasn't really an age per se. It was just when I started noticing those signs. And so, because think about a small baby, it's a lot of times they'll have toxins from the mother that the mother had when she was pregnant, and because you pass a lot of toxins on to the baby. That's why a lot of times, sometimes babies are, born with certain ailments. But as far as when it comes to detoxing, you would lessen the dosage, or you wouldn't do the same thing. So, like, for example, my kids grew up drinking this stuff called neem. They hated it. They were like, it tastes really bad. It's probably one of the most bitter herbs that you could that you could even you can taste. And so there's this company called I don't know what the company's name, but the formula is Essence of Vitality. And so it is the worst tasting stuff that you can ever want to taste. And so I started giving it to my kids when I think they may have been like maybe 5 or so, 4 or 5, because remember, like with my kids, they started everything early because my daughter got run over by a truck when she was 3. So I started so I started doing aggressive treatments with her, because I didn't go the medical route. Like, she didn't take any medicines. She didn't do any of that. Everything that I did for her, it was natural stuff. So I started, giving her herbs really early. She was 3 years old. I started giving her the neem. Well, she was a little bit older, because as a kid, she wouldn't have drank it. But as soon as they get to to where they're able to listen and comprehend, and when they start eating bad foods. Because if you think about even kids, if you're not on board yet and you're still eating or cooking bad foods, then everybody in the house is eating those bad foods. So you can start detoxing smaller kids, but you want to do it in a different way. So, like with little kids, you can start giving them things to help with. You can give them stuff like I know when I was younger, or with my kids, I started giving them like Karo syrup when they was younger, just to help their intestinal tract. Because especially if my kids were constipated or anything like that, I gave them Karo syrup. I gave them I started detoxing them younger, at a really young age. I just didn't give them the same dosage that I would take. So you want to start young. You want to start like as soon, maybe I'll say around 4 or 5. Just make sure that whatever you're giving them, you are getting you want to make sure you check with your child's pediatrician too, because some children have different underlying issues. They may not be able to tolerate certain things. So you really want to pay close attention to the kids, and you want to start cleaning them out earlier. But you just want to start giving them, you may not give them the same herbs that you would take, but you would give them a milder form of it, like I say, with the K-roll syrup or a blackstrap molasses. That's something that's a good that's something good for kids that help. They have low iron. The K-roll syrup is almost like a laxative for kids. So that's something that's gonna help to clean them up. And my friend, now my kids were older when I started using sea moss regularly. But as far as my kids, they've or as far as her kids, she started giving her grandson sea moss when he was like, I think he was like 16 or 17 months. She started giving it to him then, and she started noticing, because she just recently took custody of him from her daughter-in-law. And so she took custody of the baby, and he wasn't as active. She just noticed so many things about him, and she started giving him sea moss. And she said it was as if he came alive. He started, he was just more active. He was, playing more with other kids. And so somebody asked, how would they incorporate sea moss into your diet? What I would say is start with 1 to 2 tablespoons at a time. You can start like with my sea moss. It actually tastes good because I put agave in mine, so it tastes really good. You can eat it right there out of the jar. So what I do is when I wake up in the morning, I don't have any of the container. I was trying to see if I had any of those little. It's like a plastic 2-ounce container with the top on it. I'll grab one out because I usually make them up on the weekends. So when I make sea moss, I usually make it on the weekends. I'll put some sea moss in a 2-ounce container. I'll do like maybe 1 to 2 tablespoons. And then when I wake up in the morning, that's the first thing that I take, because it's been sitting out. It's not cold, because you want to make sure whatever you drink or consume first thing in the morning, you want it to be warm because it activates your organs. And so I take the sea moss, I eat the sea moss, and I drink a bottle of water. That's the first thing I do. So the way that you would incorporate it, because with sea moss, it's so versatile, you can put it in anything, like in your smoothies. You can put it in, if it's it depends on what flavor it is, because some of it might change. So like, let's say if you're putting it in a sauce, because a lot of people put it in their soups or their sauces. Now, you probably wouldn't do that with certain flavors, but if you get the plain, you can put the plain in your tea. You can put it, you can put the other flavors too. It's just a matter of it, what's your preference? So you can put it in any kind of liquid. So to get started with it, I would say, now if it's one that's already sweetened, you can eat it out of the jar. Or like I do, I eat it out of the jar and I drink a bottle of water right behind it. And you want to make sure whenever you take it, you drink water, because the water helps to get the nutrients into the cells. So that's why you want to make sure whenever you take it, you want to make sure you're drinking water with it. And I actually take it twice a day, because I'll do it first thing in the morning, and then I take it right before lunchtime. And it definitely helps. It helps to curb your appetite. And she said, what is my favorite product? Maybe the black seed oil, because black seed oil, other than the sea moss. Now, obviously the sea moss is my favorite, but then I guess the next thing would be the black seed oil, because it's the black seed oil that I sell is a black cherry. It's black cherry, black seed oil. So it doesn't taste great, but it doesn't taste as bad as your traditional black seed oil. And the Egyptians used to say that black seed oil cured everything but death. They said it was basically good for everything except for death. And I actually take it at night before I go to bed. And it's when you take it, especially if you're taking it with the sea moss, not when I say with, I mean, not necessarily at the same time, but, because I take the sea moss earlier in the day, but before I go to bed, I'll take my sea moss capsules, and then I take the black seed oil. And I don't know what all it does. I just know that I cannot remember being sick. I know that I've been around people with COVID, and I haven't gotten it. I even have a wellness kit for people who have gotten it. And when they do the things that are in the wellness kit, the colloidal silver, I have like an oregano oil. When people do those things in the kit, usually their symptoms are gone within 3 days. And so my daughter had a friend who her mom felt she had COVID-19, but she didn't know for sure. So she said, well, because she and my daughter had been together all weekend. And so both of them were coming down with something. They had the fevers. And so I had one COVID test at the house. And I said, we'll test the person who has the most symptoms. So I tested her friend, and she was positive. So when I told her mom, her mom was freaking out because her little sister has asthma. So you want to be careful when you have pre-existing conditions, because that, it really can make the symptoms worse. So I said, well, she can stay over here, and I'll keep her, and I'll go, do my regimens on her. And because I don't want her to be around her little sister, but I figure if she's here, then I can give her, I know what to give her to get rid of it. And so she came here. I started doing the breathing treatments I have a nebulizer. And so I was putting the oregano oil in the nebulizer, and I had her do the breathing treatments probably like every 3 to 4 hours. I gave her NAC. Now that NAC, it stands for N-acetyl-L-cysteine. That is probably one of the single most deadly thing against that, probably fights against COVID or reverses COVID more than, probably quicker than anything else. That NAC, that stuff is the truth. It's like at one point they had even pulled it from Amazon because the pharmaceutical companies, they didn't want people taking NAC because people were taking it and they were getting over COVID like really fast. And so it became a problem. And so I'm starting to see it back on the market, but I have my own brand of it. And that's part of, it's because what it does is it detoxes your respiratory tract. It's good for it. It helps, it strengthens and detoxes the respiratory tract, helps with killing viruses, especially with the and then you're taking it with the oregano oil. That's getting rid of the viruses in the upper airways. And then you're taking the colloidal silver. That's another thing in my wellness kit, where you're gargling with the colloidal silver, and it's killing those viruses as well in the throat. So all those, and then you're taking the sea moss because it's giving you the nutrition. You're getting all the good, up to 92 different minerals that you're probably not going to get outside of, because it's not really a lot of foods that are going to be that nutritious. So the sea moss helps with the nutrients. The oregano oil helps to kill the viruses. The colloidal silver also helps kill viruses. And then the NAC is strengthening your respiratory tract. So all of those things. And then I have a sea moss tea. That the sea moss tea, it helps because it's it actually it's kind of ironic because it does have sea moss in it, but it actually, the sea moss takes on the properties of the calming herbs because it has like peppermint in it, lemon balm, chamomile, all the things that relaxes you. It has all the things that relax you, but the sea moss helps to get it throughout, like circulate it throughout your body. It doesn't overpower it and give you a lot of energy. It just helps it to, to kind of, it helps it to digest, I guess, within the body quicker with the sea moss in it. So it's a bedtime, it's a calming tea. So all of those things are in the wellness kit. And I know I was kind of rushing before, but my son, he went to pick up my daughter, so I'm not in a rush.
Okay. Okay. I like that. So Raquel been on the website already. She's already on the website.
I think she had a question. I saw something. She said it's the sea moss gel. Oh, I like the sea moss. It's so one of the stores that I have, they buy more of the sea moss. So like I sell to Good Nutrition. That's one of my stores, and they buy a lot of soursop. Like they like that flavor, and and everything is like all the flavors are gonna taste good. They're sweet because I put agave in them. So it's no, I don't do, I'm a nutritionist. Like, why would I use sugar? I don't do any sugar or any unnatural sweetener. I was putting, when I was selling the elderberry, that had honey in it, because I use honey when I make the elderberry syrup. But that one, I actually stopped selling the elderberry flavor. So now I have she was asking about the soursop. The soursop, it tastes really good. My favorite is probably the passion fruit, just because it's probably the fruitiest, if that's the word. And that's because, like, when LA Fitness places an order, all they get is passion fruit. Like, because they said they sell out of that really, really quickly. And then the gingerberry, if you like ginger, like that ginger taste, that strong ginger taste, then you'll like the gingerberry, because it has a
So when
lot
you're
of
cooking, can you put like the ginger taste in your food? Like when you're
You
cooking
can.
it?
I mean, if you're eating something that's fruity, like for me, the only thing I've mixed it with is I put it in. I put any flavor in my smoothie, because it doesn't really change the taste. So I put it in my smoothie. If I'm doing a sauce, like let's say if I'm making a tomato sauce or something, I try to use the plain. So if I'm putting it with something that I don't want it to change the taste of, then I'll do plain. But if I don't care if it's a smoothie or a juice, like even my vegetable juices, I'll put like a couple of teaspoons of one of the flavors, because it's just going to add to all the other fruitiness.
Okay. Rakia said, how did you present to the different business to get them, get a business with you and sell the product?
So for me, it was so easy to get into stores because my branding was amazing. Like the guy who I hired to do my branding, he was top notch. So because see, here's the thing, there are so many people selling sea moss. Like everybody and their mama and their grandma sell sea moss. So it's a very competitive market. And especially when you start, because see, here's the thing, when I first went to the store to pitch it to them, I went to, I think I started out with Good Nutrition. So the first thing the lady says is, we already have 3 different brands of sea moss. We're not trying to take any more sea moss. And I said, but let me tell you about my sea moss. So I started telling her, I didn't take no for an answer, because if that was the case, I would have, we would have even had a conversation about it. But what really helped me to get into Good Nutrition was the fact that I had a whole line of products, because they had other people who were just selling sea moss. I'm coming in, well, I have the world's first sea moss based pain cream. I have sea moss capsules. I have a sea moss tea. I have because I had an entire line of products, they're like, wait a minute. So at least I had their ear at that point. And so what I did was I left. So another thing you want to do is be prepared to leave samples, because, again, if you just go in trying to get your sea moss in there, it's going to be hard, because everybody sells sea moss. So I had to pitch it as I have a complete line of wellness products. And so what really did it for me was the fact that the owner, she's not the owner, one of the general managers, she tried my pain cream. And this is a sea moss based pain cream. She said none of the other products in the store that she had tried had gotten rid of the pain in her ankle. Oh, wow. She used my pain cream on it. She said the pain was gone almost immediately. That sold her. So she instantly became an advocate. And so she was like, okay. So then she calls me and says, okay, we want to order 5 bottles of your pain cream. And I said, okay, so do you just want the pain cream? She's like, I'll bring the sea moss too. And so when she told me, I'm like, oh, okay, because once I get in here, so the pain cream is what got me in there. And what kept me in there was the fact that I had other products. Well, and actually the product line helped that. At least they listened to me. And then my branding was like, the person who did my branding, Anthony, what's his last name? Anthony King, he hooked it up. And so they felt at that point that, okay, at least she's professional. When they saw the branding, they automatically associated a certain level of professionalism. Because the thing is, people were walking in there with their sea moss in a mason jar. You walk in somewhere in a mason jar, unless it's like, somebody that they want to do community service, like, some of the places they might let you put your products in, but when you're looking at chains of stores, like Good Nutrition has seven or 8 stores. So you got to come correct. You got to at least make them feel like, your stuff is top notch. And then when it works, that's icing on the cake. And so, but yeah, so
absolutely.
And then once I got my products in there, that's been over a year ago. So when I got my products in there, I started going into the stores on certain days, giving out free samples, because the customers don't, they know what brand they're used to buying. So like, why are they going to buy my brand just because they didn't even know? Because when I come in there, they don't know it's my brand. They just think I'm representing the company. And then when we start having a conversation, I was like, oh, yeah, this is my company. I started in 20. They were like, oh, that's your company. Okay, well, I'm going to buy it because I want to support Black businesses. You have some people that'll, people will buy your stuff once to support Black businesses. But if they come back and they continue to buy it, it's because it's a good quality product that they like. And so, but yeah, the branding is so, I can't even stress that enough. They went to my website. My website is very professional. So they're going to look at that too. You can't have the one you downloaded from the GoDaddy,
right.
and you try to do it yourself. In certain areas, you just got to spend money. Like I spent a lot of money on my branding, but that was what got me into at least Good Nutrition. The other place, probably one of my biggest customers, the CBD store, Greenwood Farms. It was, how did I get in? I don't even remember. I just went into the stores, and if you're knowledgeable about the product, and then you're prepared to leave samples, so you educate them about your product, you leave them samples. I left enough samples for the customers. And at Greenwood Farms, he gave his customers some of the samples, and the customers loved it. And so then he called me like, hey, okay, let's do 20 jars. He started out ordering 20 jars like every week or every 2 weeks. Now, when he places an order, he's getting 100 jars. So, but yeah, you have to, your branding all around. Everything is your branding, from your website to, when you walk in, you can't look raggedy. Like, you have to look professional. Like, even if you ain't never sold a jar of sea moss, you gotta look like you selling to the president. Like, you gotta come in there, you gotta look like you got it together, because people judge you. And especially you're African American, is like, because my biggest customer is a old Trump supporter. Rich white Trump supporter. That's my biggest customer. And so you have to, like I say, you gotta so your branding got to be on point, and you got to have a good quality product too. It's just, it's really hard to enter into that industry, because there's so many people are like, when you look at health food stores, most health food stores already have sea moss. So if you have a product, you have to figure out, like, what's your market, what's your target audience, where can you go, or even if you're entering into a new market, because like I'm going to start marketing to pain clinics, my pain cream, because my pain cream, it actually works, and it's all natural, and it's not a lot of like certifiable all natural products out there that works in the same way that my product works. So you have to figure out, like, what is your value proposition? What is it that separates you from everybody else? Because if they see you coming in with sea moss, it's like, we already got sea moss. So what else? And so my value proposition was, I had flavors that they didn't have, because they didn't have passion fruit, they didn't have soursop, and they didn't have gingerberry. They did have like mango, they had strawberry, they had other flavors, but they didn't have the flavors that I had. And then when it came to the pain cream, they were like, oh, okay, let's try that. And I had an instant testimony when the general manager tried it, and it worked on her. So she was like, wait a minute. Okay, so the branding is good, the product works, and it's not too expensive. So yeah, we can work with that. And so that was kind of what got me in there. You just have to go in, and you can't take no for an answer, because at one point the main manager, he was like, no, we're not adding, or we're not buying any more sea moss or something, he said. And so I was like, oh, okay. I said, well, and this is after they had bought it. They had already bought it. They had probably been buying it for about 2 months. But the general manager was in there. He was just frustrated, but he wasn't frustrated at me. He had some other stuff going on. He was like, no, we're not buying any more sea moss. So I was like, oh, okay. And so I could have stopped there, and then, that probably would have ended our relationship. But I reached out to them. I said, hey, I understand you guys have made the decision not to carry my products anymore. Can you tell me, like, what is it? Was it the, like, what was it? Were customers complaining? I said, so whatever feedback you can give me, I would really appreciate it, because that way I'll know how it'll help me to improve my product. And so they were like, wait a minute, what are you talking about?
I like that.
Who made the decision to not? No, we still carry your product. And so that's when they were just like, so because I kept following. I'm like, look, I need to know. If y'all tell me you're not buying my product anymore, why? What did I do? Tell me how I can make my product better, so that if not you, I want to make sure that whatever it is, if it's something that I can change, then, then I'm willing to change it. And so it was because I reached out, and I had to send like 3 emails. I sent an email because I got the email for the general manager, the assistant general manager, and the store manager, because I needed to know, like, what did I do wrong? And then they were just like, oh no, it was just a misunderstanding. Like he was really upset with, it was another company, the sea moss products that they had, but they say it wasn't yours though. So I was like, oh, okay, phew. So, but yeah, so you can't take no for an answer, because with retail, it's tough, it's competitive. Everybody probably got the same product you got, but you got to figure out what is your value proposition? What is it that's different about your product? And that's something that I'm working on now, because I'm getting back into coaching. How many health coaches are there online? It's 1 million health coaches. Like, so I have to think about, like, what is it that I bring to the table? That's, and, I'm trained in behavioral change. So I'm a behavioral change specialist. I study the science of human behavior. So I can help with this, I can help with that. So it's like, once you learn what it is that unique about yourself, that's how you can, it definitely helps with selling yourself, especially in a, what they call the blue ocean. Like, how do you stand out when everything is blue? Like, what do you do differently to make your product or your service, stand out above everybody else's?
Yes, you definitely educated us tonight. Like, I see a lot of health, coaches, and no one really just broke it down. It's always, you got to go to the gym this many times a day. You got to take this. But you broke it down for us. So that's how you stand out from everybody else. And then you gave everybody nuggets, because any entrepreneur that's on here know that you are persistent. You like, I'm not taking no for an answer. The branding, yes, gotta be intact. You can't let nobody go to your website. It's not working. It's jacked up, or like you said, GoDaddy. You gotta have those professional things intact. And yes, it takes money, but you gotta spend out money, invest money to be able to make that money back. So thank you for sharing all of that with us. Like, this was one of the best nights. It's like every night gets better and better. This was awesome. Like, you really gave us a lot of things to think about. So you guys, make sure you go to her website. Let's all get our health together. Let's get some coaching and find out our body design and what we need to do to get healthy. So thank you so much for your time tonight. I'm sorry if we went over and we kept you too long, but this was good information. I was over here taking notes myself. Like, I hope they know I'm paying attention, but I got to take my notes too.
I'm a talker. So, like, if you mess around, like, we would go till 10 to 11 o'clock, because this is what I'm passionate about. And, because, see, I look at this as a ministry. Like, for me, this is not just, I just have a sea moss business, or I just have a coaching business. This is my ministry. This is what God put me here to do. I'm supposed to help people to reverse sickness and disease and do it the natural way, because we know that the medical way is not really working. And if it is working, it's working with side effects. So when I come along, I'm helping people to, like, we're doing this naturally. We're doing it the herbal way. And so, so I look at this as somewhat of a ministry. And so that's why I give a lot of stuff away. Yes. So, like, right now I do have a guide. And if anybody wants it, I think it's, what's the name of this one? It's the top 5 weight loss mistakes that people make that keep people from reaching their goals. If you're interested in that, then you can follow me on Instagram, Pure Energy Queen. So I'm at Pure Energy Queen on Instagram, and just DM me fat loss. If you just DM fat loss, I'll respond and I'll send you the top 5 mistakes that weight loss, people make when they're trying to lose weight. So I'll send that. And I also I just put out a mini course that has my top 7 tips to melt body fat like butter. And so that one, I think I still, I'm definitely going to up the price on it. I think right now it's still $27, and people were like, wow, you're giving all this information. But I just kind of put the information out there. I'm going to make some changes to it, like kind of restructure it a little bit to just to kind of give people a more of a blueprint in order. Because right now it's just information. So I'm going to make it more transformative. And so when I make it more transformative, I'm probably going to raise it to around $500 for that course. But it's my top 7 tips to melt body fat like butter. Right now, it's still $27, but it's not going to be that price for long. And so if you're interested in
better go get it now.
So if you're interested in that, if you go to my Instagram, just DM me fat loss. At Pure Energy Queen, DM fat loss, and I'll send you the link to purchase that. And for the top 5 mistakes, I'll send you the link to that one for free. I'll send you that one.
Okay, that is awesome. Again, thank you so much. We definitely got to have you back for a part 2. Definitely sometime soon. We definitely need to get you back. But this was awesome. I really enjoyed this. And look,
thank you.
I'm gonna have to give you a call tomorrow. Well, I know some people dropped off, probably putting kids to bed. I know my kids don't have school tomorrow, so I was like, I hope they don't come in here. But we love you guys, and we'll talk to you later. This is
love you too.
The girl, the life coach navigator with the Pure Energy Queen.
All right, peace out.